Good morning. Well, first of all, if you guys are just catching on, I want to appreciate you all for being here today. This is one of those days where 15 minutes ago, I was still in bed and I was not doing this. This wasn't going to happen. I was going to hit the snooze button and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, so who's really going to even call me out on this? And fact is, I made a commitment and I need to stick to the commitment. So I got up, probably forgot a few things, but we are up and running. And so I have you guys to thank for that. You guys being here, watching these lives, asking questions, just supporting me in general is the reason I even got out of bed this morning. Is I really wanted to sleep in, and it was just going to skip this. And it's interesting because today's going to be one of those super busy days where I've got to get a lot of different things done, including possibly buying a new vehicle. Mine has decided that it's lived its life, I believe. I'm not quite sure yet. We're going to take another stab at it, but hopefully it's simple. But you kind of get to that point where even though you could possibly repair your vehicle, you're kind of done with it. You maybe want to give that to somebody else to worry about. And so I'm sure there's some young person out there that's got more energy than I do right now to continue to work on it. And of course, if I do decide to sell my truck, there will be a good enough deal that them putting a little bit of elbow grease in won't really hurt too bad. So it's probably a simple fix, maybe $100 fix is kind of my guess right now. But if you ever kind of got to that point where you're like, you know what, I don't have time for this and time to move on. So I'm getting there. So I'm going to look at a couple different vehicles today. Because of where I live, which I love where I live, it's probably going to be a full-size truck and or SUV, and I'll buy pre-owned because I've never quite understood why I'd ever buy new when buying new just means paying too much, in my opinion. I think when you're younger, you like new a lot better. And I'm not saying I won't buy something new in the future, but just knowing how much a vehicle depreciates immediately makes it challenging to pull the trigger on something like that. So that'll happen possibly today. And of course, tonight I'll be doing another one of the masterclass trainings live for those people that paid for it. And we're going to be talking about DMO, or daily mode of operation, or daily method of operation. People say it differently. In business, we call it time management. For a lot of the moms out there, it's just their calendar and their schedule and what they have to do every day and how they're going to map that out. And so there's some pretty specific agenda items that online marketers have to consider, and they have to make sure that they have those. And so myself and my partner Ivan will be sharing our personal DMOs with the team and how we're able to do multiple things and accomplish everything. It's why I'm able to actually put more and more on my plate. I know a lot of people always try to figure that out. Like, how can you add more and more and more? And it's just having a bit of a schedule and a few tools and a bit of a mindset in some cases that allows me to be able to do that. So we'll be sharing those tonight. That should be pretty powerful for the team. I've actually had a chance to meet with one of the members that joined, that bought our course. And I did a one-on-one 1 hour session, and that was fun. just answering any questions they had. For me, it's more what I'm able to provide for a lot of them is the technical support, giving them the answers to their technical questions. And so I love being able to help people that way. I mean, 20 years of learning all of this fun little techie stuff, you know, now I have a platform and that I'm able to actually share that with other people and help them with whatever's going on. So, well, look at there. That's rare. I just smoked past that guy. Usually I'm the one getting past. So that's cool. Of course, we are on a downgrade, so this is where my weight probably helps a little. Just guessing. Of course, when we start going uphill, it hurts me. If you're wondering what grade I'm actually riding at, you just have to look in the upper right-hand corner. And in that upper right-hand corner, right now you see it's a 0% grade, which basically means, well, not basically, it means it's flat. I am riding a new course today. It just kind of popped up and I didn't have time because I woke up late. I didn't have time to really explore like what this is, but it was the Watopia Jungle. I don't know if this is brand new or if it's been around. It's the first time I've seen it. It does have 99 meters of elevation, and so it's a little bit more elevation than I normally ride. The loop route itself is just over 13 kilometers, and so it should be interesting. Just like the fact that the grade says that I'm going downhill, but it felt like I was going uphill for a second. So, and as a reminder, and I've changed the way the settings look a little bit here, but as a reminder, if you want to chat with me while I'm riding, or if you have questions or comments or any of the sort, you can type those in and I will see them as I'm riding along. So even words of encouragement actually help me personally. So even if you don't have any questions, but you just want to give me a ride on, that actually helps. I think that's the guy that passed before. God damn it. So as you can see with Zwift, you know, depending on how you use it, I mean, I use it to stream live, and so I'm pretty distracted while I'm doing that. But you actually have the ability, you know, to race people, to train with other people, to have some kind of game type awards or rewards as you're going. So you can make this much more challenging than I do when you watch me, and it just makes it more fun, I think, for a lot of people. For me personally, if I wouldn't have committed to this activity, I would still be in bed. And so again, I thank everybody that has chose to watch me this morning and get me out of bed, because I was not going to do it. Not going to do it at all. It's one of those things that you kind of hate. I can't. Yeah, I like the course. Looks pretty cool. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to it, but the course definitely looks cool, I think, to me. But but yeah, so I was not going to I was definitely not planning on getting out of bed this morning. And it was only 10 minutes to that I thought, well, how can I do this is the truth. This is how I got out of bed. How can I do a course, a masterclass course that people have paid for? And tonight's topic is DMO, or daily mode of operation. How can I do a course on DMO if I'm skipping one of my DMOs, which is exercising? So it wasn't just you guys, it was the fact that I wasn't going to be a hypocrite tonight, just telling people about the power of having a DMO, and then than me skipping out on one of mine. Kind of didn't make sense. So, you know, and there's a lot of things like that. You know, when you hold yourself accountable, put some goals out there, make them public, make people understand what you say you're going to do, and then do them. And then if you feel a little guilty because you don't want to do it or you feel like you shouldn't, I can promise you that that little monster on the side of your shoulder is going to be telling you, you know, somebody's watching. You know, somebody might quit because you didn't get up today. Somebody might think, oh, it's not important to Dave, it's not important to me. And as silly as that may sound to some of you, that just kind of is how we work. It's how we work as human beings. You know, not everybody will jump and be ready to go on whatever it is that you're doing right away. There's a lot of people out there that have to just take their time, and they have to, you know, they got to watch, they got to understand, they got to know the details before they'll do anything. And so if they're watching me on a day-to-day basis and all of a sudden I just quit, then that could become devastating to them. And these are people I may never know exist. And so you have to remember that not everybody's going to raise their hand that actually needs what you have to offer. And it may, again, seem silly that what I'm offering right now is just the fact that I'm showing up, but for a lot of people, that's enough. That's enough for them to realize that they need to show up too, eventually. One of these days, they're going to say, I'm tired of watching him. I need to be watching myself, or doing it myself. Or I appreciate that he was able to get me up and out of bed, but now I have to do it for me. And then there's always that other group of people that have this thought, which is, I can do it better. Cool. Prove it. Right? So what you'll see up there is they're called power-ups. And I'm not quite sure what happened there. I guess I didn't earn a power-up. But when you saw those flashing symbols up there, that was an opportunity for a power-up, I guess, and I missed it. So sometimes it'll make you lighter, makes it easier to ride. Sometimes you'll get like an arrow power-up, which is making it less wind resistance. And it's not that you feel the wind. In my setup, you can actually buy a piece of equipment that'll have a fan on you to simulate actual riding outside. But what it does is it changes the resistance on the trainer to compensate for either the harsher wind or uphill climb or whatever it is. There are two other pieces of equipment, mechanical equipment, that you can actually purchase in this setup, and I've talked about them before. One of them is actually a fan, and like I said, it actually reacts to the game itself and what the weather conditions are there, along with manual control if you want to. So you can have it on more of an auto control where it's reacting through Bluetooth to whatever the conditions are based on your speed or the weather. Or you can put on manual mode and just crank that sucker up to high and not worry about the interaction. And then the other one is called the Kickr Climb. I think that's what it's called, or the Wahoo Climb, or I don't know. But it's where you actually remove your front wheel and connect to a different device. And it will, like now when we're going uphill, it'll actually raise the front of your bike. And when you're going downhill, it'll put it in a decline. Makes it more realistic. For me, because I am so heavy, I kind of feel like that might not be a good piece of equipment to own right now, and it's not cheap. And so I committed to myself that I wouldn't purchase anything else of high expense until I've done this for over a year and proved to myself that I'm going to continue to do it beyond that year. And then it would make sense to make a better investment. Or a bigger investment, not better. A bigger investment. Woo, I can tell you this. 3% grade doesn't seem like much. But man, oh man, Now, when I'm maintaining speed, and let's say I am at that 3% grade. Right now I'm going back downhill, so it's not a good time to show it, but you'll see on the upper, or straight above me, that wattage, and that's measuring the power. So what you see in that little box there are 3 pieces of data. The wattage, which is really the power that I'm driving. And so if I'm maintaining speed, and we're at a 3% increase grade right now, where we're going uphill, and I'm actually maintaining speed, more than likely the wattage is going to go up because I'm putting more power into it. You can also see RPMs. RPMs are measured off of a small pod attached to the crank arm, just below the pedals. And so that's measuring my actual revolutions. The game's supposed to be showing you the actual rotations of my legs. Unless I quit and the rear wheel is still spinning, it won't necessarily show exactly what I'm doing. But when I'm under power, you actually get to see it. So, and then of course, the next measurement there is beats per minute, BPM. Right now I'm rocking 132, which isn't overly aerobic for me. It's probably the sweet spot. I mean, it's probably, if I looked at it, it's probably like the 80% mark, which is where you want to be for most people. And of course, you need to look at the, the data to say where you should be based on your age. But 131 isn't bad. If I was doing a HIIT workout or a high intensity interval training workout, then this would probably be close to my resting heart rate, where I'd want to get it down to before I took the next interval. But in theory, how you would, if you were truly measuring it and doing it by science alone, you would go and jack your heart rate up, in my case up to close to 150. Do that for 30 seconds or whatever the interval happens to be. The better shape you get in, the higher the interval can be, or the longer the interval can be. For me, I like to start off with a 30-second burst, get my heart rate up to about 150, 155, and then let it come back down to the 130 range, and then go at it again. Repeat that around 8 times. And for me, that's kind of like the secret to fat loss is HIIT. Now, there's a lot of ways to do these type of workouts. There's a lot of boot camps that do it on accident. So if you really look at what they're doing, another form of exercise that some of you may not be thinking about that is great for interval training is the olden days when we had to do wind sprints, let's say for basketball practice or baseball practice or football practice, all that kind of old school method of training. Those are very similar. You rest for a short bit of time and then you sprint again. Rest for a short period of time, sprint again. And so what happens with your body is that it kind of gets all out of whack and it doesn't know whether it's supposed to store energy or whether it's supposed to burn energy. And because this is done kind of in a scientific way, to where you do that interval a minimum of 8 times, and in my case, I don't think you ever do it more than 12. Really depends on how fast you're turning over those intervals. So are you doing 90 seconds between them? Are you doing, a shorter period between them? That really kind of depends. And then for how long are you actually spiking your heart rate? So all that's a factor, but it really doesn't matter what you're doing if you just follow the theory. So you can find things that work for you, and your level of health also doesn't matter because you follow the same principles. And so when you think about it, you could actually just walk and get a good interval training in if that's your level. So if you're just starting out, and let's say walking to the end of the driveway is a challenge for you, then walking's enough, right? Maybe it's walking and that, you know, walking at whatever pace is a little bit strenuous to you. Of course, you always want to talk to a doctor before you do anything like this. You know, and then maybe you're barely walking back, and maybe you do that 8 times up and down the driveway. I mean, it doesn't have to be sprinting. It doesn't have to be running. It doesn't have to be cycling. It doesn't have to be crazy boot camp. It doesn't have to be CrossFit. It doesn't have to be wind sprints. You don't have to rejoin your high school basketball team. You just have to take the idea and then make it work for you. And back in 2012, when I lost all that weight, you know, that was a lot of what I was doing. I was doing a lot of the old school, you know, football, basketball drills. Just understanding that I wanted to keep it different. I didn't want to be doing the same thing every day. And when you do this high intensity interval training and you use the method of nice and easy for a period of time, for me it's 90 seconds, and then fast as you can go for 30 seconds. Well, fast as you can go is a very relative term. It's as fast as you can go. It's what's going to get that heart rate up. And so if as fast as you can go is a sprint, then sprint. If as hard and fast as you can go is a brisk walk, then walk. If it's barely crawling on your knees and that gets your heart rate up, hey, it's all relative. And as you get better, as you get more in shape, you'll actually be able to perform differently. And so, interval training to me, not only is it scientifically the best method of fat loss, it is also something that you can continue to do forever. Because as fast as you can go is as fast as you can go. If you have to add more resistance because maybe you can't go faster, maybe you maxed out your speed, maybe you got to put more weight on, maybe you got to put a weight vest on, maybe you have to put resistance on your bicycle, maybe you have to go at a 3% grade in some dirt and it sucks like I am now. You can see my RPMs are very low, so I'm barely pedaling, and I have a wattage up above 150, and I'm not really cruising too fast. I don't know what the heck 19 kph actually is, but if we looked at it in mile per hour, it's probably pretty slow, like maybe 5. I'm kind of feeling like it's probably 5 or 6. The reason that I use the metric system is because it'll give you measurements in imperial, but the metric system and this game play together better. And so you'll notice that things just don't feel right when you're trying to use the imperial system. And like things are either really hard or much easier. And it just doesn't make any sense, especially if you're used to what your performance should be. You'll notice that just switching over to the metric system is actually helpful. Definitely getting hot today. Getting hot today, and to be honest with you, the interior temperature is right where it's supposed to be. We're at 59 degrees in my riding room here, so it's not that. Today was, normally I wake up and it's still dark outside. Today, because it was already daylight, I had 2 giant turkeys right outside the windows here in my riding room when I woke up. So that was neat. And then yesterday was the first day for my lawn mowing service to come in and do their deal. So the yard looks really good. And of course, I didn't have time. I wanted to get my yard cleaned up before they showed up. I had a couple trees that branches and stuff like that came down, and I had every intention to getting that done. And with some of the challenges of life, it got in the way a little bit for me, and so I had to ask them if I could pay them a little extra just to clear the yard for me. And I thought it was a great deal. They charged me $40, and I literally had the equivalent of a tree that was still out in the yard that I had started cleaning up, and it just didn't, I just couldn't get it done. So for $40, my lawn care service took care of that for me, and I thought that was a bargain. So they got the first mowing, they got the yard cleaned up, and just makes you feel good, you know, when you look out and you got nice big green grass and the trees are starting to bud. Some of the leaves are starting to happen, you know. I know you Southerners have your own version of our seasons, but up in the north we get the full gamut of all 4 seasons. And though we may seem a little depressed during the wintertime at times, some of us, we are revived and we rejoice in this new weather called spring. And even though spring was supposed to sprung a few weeks ago, whenever it finally happens, it is glorious, to say the least. And so I love it, man. It's like everything's popping. The girls and I are going to spend tomorrow. We're going to go out and mushroom hunt. So that's another joy of this northern climate, is that morel mushrooms are in season. People are already finding them. And so we'll be out looking. I have no idea what we're doing, really. I think I've only found a few ever in my life. I am not a mushroom hunter, guru, or anything. So we're just going to scour the woods, which is really just a good hike, some pictures, some memories, and if we're lucky, we'll figure this whole mushroom hunting thing out. I've more than once tried to get others to help me that know what they're doing, and we've never had any luck. It's usually been, you know, a week too late and everybody's already hit the woods and gotten them out of there. So this year I think the timing's perfect. I think in the last couple of days in my area is when they should be popping, and so I expect here out at the state game area for us to have quite a few people. I would suspect we'll probably have half a dozen vehicles, and I can tell you that a lot of people don't show up back here where I'm at because it is a 2-track and you're not going to just bring your car down the road. You better have a pickup truck, or else you're going to probably leave without some parts. So, or a larger SUV works. And for me, I love that, you know. It keeps it way more secluded back here. I own 12 acres, but there's about 2,000 acres of state land also back here. So, and I would just like to thank the great residents of Michigan. Oh man, look at this. Forget what I'm saying. Look at the screen, man. Check out what exactly. Man, wouldn't this be amazing in real life, to be riding this wooden bridge across this great valley? Holy cow, if I had my keyboard with me, I could have actually shown you a different view of that, but wow. That would have been... I gotta figure out if this is... I'm sure it's not real, but if there's a place like this on Earth, I gotta get there. Woo! There we are, about halfway through the ride, guys. And again, I can't thank you all enough for being here, because I would not have gotten out of bed today if you weren't here. I was ready to hit the snooze button and not do this. So what a cool deal, man. That was awesome. There are ways that you can change the viewing angle on Zwift. You have to have your keyboard, and of course my keyboard is up near the computer, which is about 5 feet away from me right now, so sorry. Maybe next time. Oh, come on, pink dude. Don't roll by me like that. Embarrassing me in front of my peeps. Look at that. Leave me in the dust. Woo! So I can tell you, I always have fun doing this. I mean, there's sometimes that my ass hurts way too much, and I'm a little done. Wednesday, I had to get off a little early. I had something come up that I needed to deal with. You know, but I've learned to to really enjoy doing this. And you know, I know that in the beginning I had kind of a backstory, and then we would get into kind of a topic of the day kind of deal. And for a lot of people that was more enjoyable, but to be honest with you, I just didn't have the time to prepare every single ride's conversation, especially because I had this masterclass that I'm training right now for online marketers. So I'll wing it, you know, we just ramble on. Oh, woo! Put an extra scoop in there today, and that is some strong mojo right there. Son of a gun. Woo! So what I try to drink in the morning is a little cocktail that I put together, of which one of them is a pre-workout. This particular pre-workout, the flavor of it is, if you remember the ice cream trucks that used to come around the neighborhood, and the what were they called? Something Pops or whatever. They were like these popsicles, these giant popsicles, and they were red, white, and blue. Whatever that's called. I think they were called Rocket Pops. Anyways, that's the flavor that's in there. And because I accidentally put a second scoop in there, it's a little tart. Woo! A little tart. And but what I was also putting in there is kind of this super juice little couple ounce deal, and I haven't had that in a couple weeks now, and I'm noticing it. And so I may end up going back to that product and adding that. It's not cheap. That's part of why I wasn't 100% sure that it was really making any difference for me. But now being off of it for a couple of weeks, I've started to notice it made a difference. And so, though it's a little pricey, you know, it's just like anything. I'm willing to pay the price if it works, right? So I'm going to probably order some of that again, and I guess report back to you how that's going. But the old Rocket Pop pre-workout juice, oh, it is tart for sure. Man. There's something about, you know, and the thing is like, so I didn't want to get up this morning. I didn't want to ride. I wasn't interested in anything that we're doing right now. And so what happened when I finally woke up? And by the way, like I said, I'm doing a masterclass tonight talking about DMO, which is daily mode of operation or method of operation, however you want to say it. And part of mine is getting up and exercising. And I thought, well, what a hypocrite. That's what got me out of bed, I'll be honest. Like, what a hypocrite. If you're going to be talking about DMO tonight and you skip one of yours. And so that was enough to get me out of bed, lead by example. And so what did I get for waking up? Well, one, I got to be here with you. For some of you, it might be the first time you ever see me. And that might make a difference in your life. I don't know. Don't know if it ever will, but that could happen. But what was the next gift I was given? Well, one, it was daylight. That was cool. Two, I had a couple of giant turkeys right outside the old riding window here. That was awesome. Three, got some nice mowed green grass. And then four, I actually feel pretty good right now. Now that might be the extra scoop of love I put in the old drink, but whatever the reason, I actually feel pretty good 30 minutes in, which always seems to happen. Even when I don't feel good, about 30 minutes into my ride, I start to feel really good. The pain and the tiredness and the grogginess and the why am I doing this, all that kind of goes away. And so sometimes you just gotta work past the pain, right? Some of us old athletes kind of know that, and so we've been forced into learning those lessons. But it's not just about, it's not just athletes. It's anybody that's had challenges in life. If you've lived long enough, things have went bad. and you've made it on the other side. And so sometimes you just got to go through it, man. You just got to just get up, even when you don't want to, and go do it. Sometimes you don't even notice the results that you're getting, and the results could be many things. For me, the scale doesn't seem to want to move, which is totally fine. At this point, I've had my peace with that, because from a health standpoint, all the other blood work is great. It's amazing. Like, everything else is going amazing. If I quit doing this, I might as well start digging a grave. And I don't necessarily mean biking, but I just mean exercising in general on a day-to-day basis. If I don't do this, like I said, dig a grave, because I'll be there much sooner than I should be. But then there's the other aspect of it. Even if there's people out there that aren't necessarily following along, or maybe aren't commenting, or I don't really notice that this activity that I'm doing might be benefiting them and finally motivating them to do something, I may never see that, but it's happening. Now, fortunately for me, I've got enough experience from a few years back that I know that that's the case. So I know that even without hearing from people, that in one way or another, I'm inspiring them. Matter of fact, if you're one of my closer friends, you're going to notice another new trend that's probably popped up if you're just following on Facebook, for instance. You may notice a new trend that's popping up on your Facebook timeline, or whatever they call it, your news feed, so you may notice a new trend, which is a whole lot of people doing lives. And I like to think I have something to do with that. And for some of those people, and I know them well enough, that I know that what they're doing is, well, if he can do it, I can do it. And I can do it better. Rock on, bro. Do it. And so there's a lot of benefits to the action that you take. And if sharing information and sharing what you know and what you've learned over the years, or even if it's something you just learned and you start to share that, there's so much power in it, because you're really now providing value to other people. And for me, what I've learned over the years is that if you stop focusing in on yourself and you really try to just help others, you're going to be way more successful. And for certain personalities, that's not real easy. It's easy to say, it's not real easy to understand or do, but it's true. All right, I have no idea what this, drafting. I'm like, I don't know why I want to be a truck, but I'm going to click the truck button so I can be a truck. And then come to find out, it's a drafting boost, which means I need to find somebody to draft. Come on, people, where are you? Now, in theory, up in the upper right-hand corner, it's opposite for me, by the way, so when it's that way, I got to point that way. So in the upper, whatever corner you're looking at, that way, you should be able to see other people. And you'll see little dots out there. And I don't see any, so I just wasted a draft. That's part of the game, and I don't understand it that much yet, so I probably just wasted a little boost, but it's all right, man. I like to go the hard way. Work harder, not smarter. Right, bud? Woo! And for me, this is just fun. This is good old fun. That's part of it too. And if I can have a little bit of fun, hopefully you'll have a little bit of fun. We'll all have a little bit of fun, and we'll get through this hour much faster. Time is so relevant. Time can take an hour, or time can take an hour. And for those of you that know what I'm talking about, how true is that? It can feel like forever. 2 minutes can feel like the longest 2 minutes of your life. You've heard that, you've lived through it. And then, in this case, 2 minutes is barely realized it even happened. Part of that's from trying to run all these programs at the same time. Some of it's because of the conversation. But time is so relative. For me, this time would be used either sleeping, watching TV, browsing the internet, looking at social media, just generally dinking around. Or I could kill a couple birds with one stone and exercise while I have this conversation with you. Or I could be listening to an audiobook and learning something or getting my inspiration in for the day. I could be jotting down mental notes of what I need to do throughout the day. There's a lot of benefits that where this time is going to be used one way or the other, and I just choose to use it here on my bike. Now, for those of you that say you don't have enough time to get everything done in your day, that may be true. And you may have to wake up earlier or go to bed later or both. If you have a dream and there's something you want to pull off, then don't let time be the excuse. Find the time, make the time. That's going to be one of the powerful things in our training tonight, where we're teaching this DMO, or daily mode of operation, and it's going to be, part of it is how we schedule our time and how we're able to accomplish everything by using a few simple tools. But really, it's controlling your schedule and finding time. There was no secret back in 2012 when I lost all that weight. And for those of you that aren't familiar with that story, I will see if I can get it up on the screen here. So that story right there, over there. I didn't have the time. I had a job that was pretty much 24/7 back then, and I had to make a decision. And for me, I woke up at 4 a.m. to get up and exercise, because that was my excuse. I couldn't, I didn't have any time during the day or at night between my job, my family, all the other responsibilities, travel time. I traveled a lot. I just didn't have the time, but I did, and I made it. And so I woke up at 4 a.m. I committed to getting that exercise done. Now, by the way, I actually, when you started truly seeing what I was doing throughout the day and putting that schedule together and then being real with myself, I was spending actually time at night just winding down, and that would either be wasting time online or that would be watching a TV program or something like that. And so, similar to now, I started doing both at the same time. I was still meeting that need or whatever it was of having to watch some kind of goofy TV show that meant nothing to me really, and then still get my exercise in. And so that was, but I had a strong goal. I had a strong reason why I was doing it, a strong purpose behind it, and that purpose continued to get stronger and grow into more things. It wasn't just one thing. It started off as one thing, but it grew into something bigger than me. It actually turned into a platform where I was helping other people. And so if I quit, they'd quit, right? So we had this mentality where we're, I'm going to get that picture off here. We get to where you have to have this mentality, like, if you quit, they'll quit, right? So if there's something that you're doing that just needs to be done and it's probably inspiring other people, there's kind of like this mental Jedi mind F that can be placed on you, almost like some voodoo magic. And so if you're an inspiring person and for whatever reason you started to have this transition and whatever the challenges are in your life, I've had a few where, my son passed away, and of course the way that I handled that, I think has helped a lot of people. But it doesn't matter what it is, people are watching you. And then of course with my 2012 transformation, so there's this mental Jedi mind trick that goes like this. If you quit, they'll quit. Pretty powerful. So it's not just about you. It's not just about me. It's about the other people that are trying to see if they're capable. If I can do it, they can do it. But if I quit, they may quit. And then, of course, for leaders, there's the other side of the coin, which is if they quit, so what? Move on. Don't get hung up on people that aren't able to keep up with you. They've got a lot of things, other things going on in their life, but that doesn't mean that you quit, because they're not the only one out there. So even if you have somebody following you, or maybe you're coaching them, or you're helping them, you're their physical trainer, you're their business trainer, you're their boss, whatever it is, you're in that leadership type role, and they quit, that doesn't mean you quit. It just means they weren't ready yet. They may still come on board. They may be back. I've had many come back. Said they couldn't do it because they just weren't ready yet for whatever that is. And realize that I'm not just talking about health and wellness here. Realize that I've ran some pretty large companies in this world. And so I've seen a lot of different people come and go, not just in the health and wellness world, but also in the business world. People I've managed, people that have been managed by my managers. I mean, so I've seen a lot, and just realize that when they quit, that doesn't mean you quit. You just keep rolling on. And sometimes you can blame yourself. I'm not saying that you're immune to or that you're the void of blame. You may not have been leading them very well. Might be why they quit. And so you always have to be introspective at that point and really look at yourself and be real and say, what could I have done better? But don't get hung up on it. Keep moving forward. That shouldn't be a long conversation with yourself. You know, you'll know if maybe it was a little bit of you, if you just didn't show up. Like, let's say, and I always use my network marketing friends as an example because there's so many of them out there that follow me because it's the world I used to be in. And I'm still in it. I train a lot of them now. But, you know, if you kind of sold this dream of products working wonderfully, you know, and somebody joins you for the product, but yet you just leave them hanging, like there's nothing else offered, like all it was, you know, hey, join the, you know, buy the product, and they've come to know, like, and trust you, so now they've bought that, and then you disappear, like they say, okay, well, what's next? What are you going to do for me next? And the answer is nothing, and that's not necessarily because you said it, but it might just be the actions because you don't necessarily have anything. So you sold, maybe unknowingly sold a bit of goods that you didn't know you were selling, and they were expecting mentorship and coaching. You know, you have to look back on yourself and how can you be better for the next person. If it's a business opportunity, again, in the network marketing world, and the same thing, let's say that you're a big leader, like you're somebody that's really making it happen, and Joe off the street shows up and wants to join you as a leader because they like, you know, for whatever reason you spoke to them and they decided that you were the one, and then you just pass them off to your downline or to somebody that they don't even know who the hell they are, and then they quit. Well, you might have to look at yourself a little bit there. So I'm not saying that you don't want to use it as a learning opportunity for yourself, but you do have to move on. So if they quit, you just got to kind of, look and make sure that you're being introspective and making sure that you're correcting anything that maybe you did wrong, and don't do it to the next person, and get better. But then at the same time, just move on. I mean, I guess that's simple. But the point is that if you quit, they quit, right? If they quit, so what? Doesn't mean you quit. And I see a lot of people do it. It's the only reason I even bring it up. I see a lot of people do that. A lot of people get hung up on that fact. They get so personally attached, and they think success is something different than what it is. And they start measuring success through how much money they make, or how many people they have joining them, or how many views, interactions, whatever. And that isn't necessarily success. Success to me is helping other people become successful. Like, if the only one that was successful was me, then I wouldn't be doing my job. I want to see people fly past me. I've always had that personality. I've always worked hard. Don't get me wrong. I've always put in the work. I've always tried to lead by example. But my goal is to see you climb above me. And I know I'm the reason that did it. That does it for me, right? I'm the reason you got there was because I showed up and I helped you tweak just enough to become successful. And I think that the mistake a lot of people make is believing that they don't need that help and that they can do it themselves. I know I've had that be a fault of mine in the past, where I didn't think anybody could outwork me, and so how could I follow them? But when I gave in to realizing that there were other people out there that really had my best interest at heart, or in their heart, and I was able to just get over myself, that's really when success started. When I gave in to realizing that you can't be an expert in everything, and you really do need to take the mentorship and or coaching of other people, or training. I mean, you can use this, whatever words make you comfortable. You know, getting help is actually very powerful, I think. We've been stopping a lot more than normal, and by we, I mean me, today, because for some reason, this course sucks on my legs and my butt, and I don't like it. It's a great looking course, though, I can tell you that. It's a pretty cool looking course. But I'm probably not going to pull off the hour of riding because we're reaching 8 minutes to 8. And of course, I've got to get ready for my day. So we're going to end the ride now, unless somebody's got a question or comment. We're going to ride the ride now, and we're going to end it just like we always do by cranking it up, getting the wattages going, and trying to hit that 1,000 mark. No, we're not there. God dang it. I can't get there. All right, guys, I appreciate being there or being here today. I love you for watching. You're the reason I got out of bed. We will probably be ending our rides soon, only because we're going to be riding outdoors and I can't take my computer with me. But I appreciate you guys being here. I'll let you know before that happens. And we'll resume back when the weather changes again to being colder. But I appreciate you guys, and we will see you later. Peace.